This happened to me about 4 or 5 years ago while I was living in a major metropolitan area of the Pacific Northwest. My wife and I lived in a condo on the second floor of this oldish 2-story building. While my wife was back home in Texas for the long weekend, weird shit started happening in our home. On the first night I was alone, I started hearing footsteps on the roof. Mind you, these sounded like stomps and not like little feet, just in case you thought it might have been a raccoon, possum, or any other night creature. They were loud, as if someone was running in circles just right above my bed. It really freaked me out, but I ignored it. The following night, my sister and mom stayed the night because they were visiting from just a few towns over. That night, I let my mom and sister sleep in my room, and I slept on the couch. My sister and my mom heard the stomps too. They didn't know what to make of it, so they woke me up to go check the roof. I went outside and looked, but there was nothing to be seen. They left the next day, and we still didn't have a clue what was going on. It was getting really freaky by this point. So the night they left, I slept by myself in the condo again. I laid there without being able to sleep, and by 2 or 3 a.m., the stomping began. It would run all across the roof, and when it would get to the room, it would start stomping hard. So I'm really freaked out at this point, and I decided to load my handgun just in case it's some crazy homeless person or someone being crazy on the roof at 3 a.m. It kept running on the roof as I loaded the gun when all of a sudden, the stomping stops. And then, I hear a loud thump by my door, as if someone had jumped from the roof to the front of my door. It knocked on my door 3 times, loud as fuck. By this point, I'm paralyzed in fear, but I said, fuck it, whatever it is, it's gonna get a bullet straight to the head. I walked carefully towards the door, opened the door as fast as I could, but no one was there. I checked the roof, under the stairs, and there was no sign of anyone. The fear I felt ran cold through all of my body because I still felt its presence, but couldn't see anyone. I went back inside, locked the door, and laid in bed with my gun next to me. I was terrified and couldn't sleep all night. The next night, my wife came home. I told her everything that had been going on, and she just couldn't believe it. She asked me how come I only heard it when she was gone and it had never happened in the past while she was there. I told her I didn't know why it happened that weekend when she wasn't around, but it happened. I had witnesses. My sister and mom had also heard the stomping, so I'm not going crazy, and this isn't just my imagination. I'm perfectly healthy mentally and physically, so this couldn't have been some mental disorder. We go to bed together that night and she tells me not to worry and that I probably had smoked a little too much cannabis during the weekend. I'm a bit pissed at her because she doesn't believe me and thinks that I'm being superstitious. As we are falling asleep, something pulls my toe. A hard pull on my toe, not some light touch. It was a violent pull on my big toe. I get up and wake my wife and tell her. By this point, she thinks I'm having some sort of hallucination, that I should probably not smoke weed anymore, and even I started believing I was losing my mind. But as we were getting comfortable to go back to sleep, the entity violently pulls her toe as well. She gets out of the bed in complete disbelief and trembling in fear. We turned the lights on, checked to see if anyone was under the bed, but there was absolutely no one. We couldn't get back to sleep that night. And a few days later, the nail on my big toe turned a light shade of purple. What the fuck happened? I have no fucking idea. To this day, I have no fucking clue. A little backstory. I lived in an old miner's house when I was in late grade school. It originally had something like 8 little bedrooms and a communal kitchen and a bathroom, and was built in the 1800s. My uncle had purchased it and ripped out a lot of walls to turn it into a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. He sold it to my family, me, mom, stepdad, and brother. A few years later, a tornado came through and twisted the house off the foundation. We stayed living in it until insurance went through and we could rebuild. We had a small party about a week or two before the house was to be tore down and had a bonfire going in the backyard that had died down after everyone left. Me and Mom were talking by the fire, and then she goes silent and looks past me and says, "Don't turn around." So I obviously turned around because I thought there was a coyote or deer about to mess up my night. Instead, it was a woman in early 1900s funeral attire, all black dress and black veil, just walking or floating past us. We sat there silently watching her just move into the woods behind our yard. It goes without saying that we freaked out and ran to the house. The next day we went out there and there was a steel rod we used to poke the logs in the fire driven almost entirely into the ground. It was maybe 6 feet long, but only about 8 inches was still sticking out of the ground. It took 3 of us to pull it out. It was definitely a weird situation. What's up guys, Yeagerbom here for the Yeagerlore channel. Hope you enjoyed this video of 2 true ghost stories. I enjoyed making it, it was a lot of fun. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. And for more scary stories, make sure you subscribe to Yeagerlore. And make sure you check out our other channel, Yeagerbom. If you're into scary stuff, we play a lot of horror games on there. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.